In this episode, April and I are going to be discussing the ghost in my house. No, actually, we discuss the importance of systems and protocols, checklists, and why it is so imperative that you have them in place and that team members are able to find the information so they can go to the source and get the information that they need so they don't disrupt your day. And if you have a temporary employee or new employee, it is much more efficient to have a checklist available that they can refer to so they're not constantly not bothering you, but interrupting you with your patients, so that they can feel more confident and have the information and know what is expected, and it's in writing and there's no question. This not only will make your day much smoother, it will also make them so much more confident and do a better job, and everything will be done. It'll be checked off and systems will be in place. And at the end of the day, things are just going to be perfect because everything's going to balance. All the procedures are going to be checked in and the billing's going to be correct. The lights are going to be turned off. The alarm's going to be turned on. The schedule's going to be checked for the day. So many things can come out of a great checklist. You would really be surprised how a simple checklist could make or break a practice. And we are going to discuss some things that you can add to your checklist. And also, as a bonus, April shows us or teaches us how to write a proper referral slip. Apparently, most of us have been doing a pretty sloppy job at this. So she tells us what is needed. And April actually drinks a beer this time. So if you've listened to the past episodes, I don't think she really owns a brewery, but in this episode, she actually drinks a beer. So stay tuned and check it out.
Well, hey, Cindy, how are you? Welcome back to Dental Ailments Podcast.
Hey, how are you? I'm great. Welcome back to Dental Ailments Podcast. It seems like it's been a long time since we recorded, but I guess it hasn't because we're
Memorial Day weekend kind of there was that lapse in doing the podcast, but we're back.
Yeah, we had that extra day off. Just kidding.
Yes. Hopefully everybody had a good Memorial Day weekend.
I did. We actually got to go camping with some family on some family property. So we each had our own campers and our own space, and we were safe and stayed away from, some unhealthy relatives and some elderly. So it was a good time. We got to do some rafting and outdoors, and I love that kind of stuff. And we had great weather, especially for Memorial Day weekend in Oregon. It was amazing. What did you guys do?
I'm totally envious. You went rafting. We were out in the high desert called Doofer. Everybody laughs at the name of Doofer.
Desert.
Call my Dooferites or, doofuses. And it's on our friend's property, kind of in the middle of nowhere. Very dry, and had some interesting, my husband and some of the friends had an interesting ride on. Do you know what a can-cam is?
A what?
A can-cam vehicle. It kind of looks like something out of Mad Max.
I can picture it, but it doesn't necessarily.
Off-road vehicle.
Okay, fun.
And they got into this machine thinking it was just for photos, and the guy took off with them in it.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like a surprise.
Yeah, not a very good surprise. They did. Yeah, so the guy ended up taking him on this joyride, and we were getting worried because there's no reception up there. Really, not really much reception, and we couldn't get a hold of each other, and we thought, oh no, this guy either took him hostage or, they're flipped over somewhere, and hopefully they're still alive. But here comes this truck to our campsite with them in it, because the guy, one, stole the vehicle. It's his friend's vehicle. They fell asleep and he took off with it. Picked these guys up unknowingly. We thought our friend knew this guy already, but he just met him. And then it broke down, a brand new vehicle. He managed to wreck the thing, and they walked back to camp.
Oh my gosh. Sounds fantastic. No, I'd rather be on the water, I guess.
And when they showed up, they looked like, in the cartoons when a bomb goes off.
Yeah.
Their hair's huge and there's dirt all over their face and
Oh,
wind blown.
yeah. So how's it going with the restaurant, with the brewery? Are you guys back open, or when's the open date? You're in Multnomah County, correct?
Well, yes. So that'd be June 12th. Thank you for
Okay.
asking. Soft opening, making our adjustments. We talk about kind of like the rebirth, like the dental offices are doing, reinvention, and getting acclimated to the new normal. But we got our delivery system up and running, and we're going to start partnering with small businesses. Doesn't necessarily have to be beer or food, to give them a boost as well, to co-market.
Oh, great. I love that teamwork. Collaboration.
Yes.
April, quit saying
I know. I told Cindy out in podcast world to stop me whenever I say it, because I catch myself saying it.
Right. That's
well, speaking of collaborations, you have a beer that was a collab, I hear.
I do. My beer choice for today is Ecliptic and Roos. It's two breweries in Portland, or in Portland area. I think if Roos is in Portland, but Ecliptic and Roos. And I picked this one because it's Ecliptic is cosmic. Like, it seems like they have a lot of stars and spaceship stuff on their cans. I don't know a lot about it. You probably know a lot about it, which I love. I love space and the moon and all that stuff, and I'm obsessed with it. And so I picked this one. It's a collaboration series, a cosmic collaboration series, and it's a Pilsner, and it's an Italian style Pilsner, and it's dry hopped with the German hops, including Polaris, Sapphire, and Hallertau Blanc.
Okay.
That sounds like a wine. So anyway, I'm gonna give it a taste here.
Okay. And I think
Delicious.
So Cruz, who they collaborated with, started out at Culmination. Sean and Devin, good guys.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
It's a small world, just like dentistry, right?
Right. You got to work together.
It. Yeah. So what beer are you having today?
So I know we spoke about doing something that was related to space, something cosmic. So I have our alludes to Pink Floyd album, actually.
Oh.
Gosh, why am I having drawing a blank here?
Because you're drinking on a Sunday afternoon.
I know. Maybe I'm already drinking it.
Or not yet.
Yeah. Obscured by Clouds.
Obscured by Clouds?
Obscured by Clouds.
The brew?
Name of the beer. It's our flagship IPA. Hold on here. Did you hear that? Okay.
I did. It sounds crispy.
Okay. Are you a Pink Floyd fan?
I do like Pink Floyd. I do.
But yeah, it's an allusion to their album Obscured by Clouds.
Okay, so that's the name of one of the albums?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. So y'all have to give that a try sometime. When you guys open back up, we'll have to come in and give it a try.
I know we were talking about the SpaceX space travel.
Yes.
First time in history, using private enterprise to get us up into, space.
Right.
I said,
First time, right? Is it 11 years since we've gone up from America on our own?
I said about a decade.
Yeah, I think 10 or 11 years. So I got all excited to watch it on Saturday, and of course, it was scrubbed. And then I took my mom to get a COVID test, which is a whole different story. But we got back to her house, and as soon as I walked in, it was on the TV. It was 10 seconds to launch. The second time, was it yesterday? And so I got to watch it, and I was so excited, and I was just so grateful that they got up there safely, because the last one I happened to be at home watching, was unfortunate, and so I kind of had a little bit of fear, of course, like everybody, but it was so exciting. Right. And then just this morning, we actually watched them connect and go inside and get onto the space station. So
yeah, isn't that exciting? They're in the space station.
Yes, I just couldn't imagine being so brave to do something like that.
Well, speaking of brave, do you know if we scrounge up $1 million, we can go on into space, into the space station?
I know we can.
Is that wild?
That is wild.
They have a rideshare program.
And I think it's amazing, and why not? I don't think I would do it. Maybe when I'm 80, but then I don't know if it might feel good up there too,
Would you aspire to be an astronaut when you were little?
No, I'm a big chicken. I've always been big chicken, but I think in my fantasy job would be like a fighter pilot or something like that, even though I was afraid of flying. But I don't know. I love it.
Well, maybe you should scrounge up, save up that $1 million, and for a landmark birthday, go up into space.
Oh my gosh, that is a great idea for 100th birthday celebration.
So when you get our $1 million from this podcast, that will be the
Yeah.
first purchase you make.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's gonna happen. So I was thinking about yeah, watching that, and then today watching. Did you watch it? You didn't get a chance to watch it, right?
Just a blurb of it.
Okay. So I was watching today the just getting out from going from the capsule into the space station, going from the Dragon into the space station. Just the checklist. I mean, it took them forever just to go through that little door, and just all the things they went through. All the systems and protocols and checklists. And so I was thinking how that pertained to business, of course, and dentistry, and what kind of protocols and systems and checklists that we need to have in order to have a successful practice.
That's a great point you bring up, because can you imagine the systems and protocols they'd have to go through, even in space? May have to be obviously much, much more detailed than even in dentistry.
Mm-hmm.
No room for mistakes.
Right. And I was thinking in the brewery, the mistake, if you guys, you guys probably have checklists and stuff, of course, but checklists to turn off the lights and make sure somebody mopped the floor and did the bathroom, all that, restaurant stuff. But what about the beer? Is there a checklist of, the hops and the stirring and everything like that? The timing?
Oh yeah, yeah, and make sure the recipes are followed to a T. It's just like following. Okay, out there in podcast world, I'm not the expert. You don't want me brewing the beer, but yeah, you have to follow these recipes, X temperatures for the yeast and the boil, and it's like following, baking a cake. You have to the right amount of ingredients. So yes, there is a checklist for each style that we have.
So is that why people get beer bellies, because of the rising and the yeast? Because it sounds like a cake, like it sounds like blow, blow, blow.
That'd be a good theory.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, it's called sugar.
Oh, that's what it is. And then is that how sour beer became a thing? Like if you didn't follow every checklist or something was off a little bit and you make a mistake, and that's how recipes are born. Is that how maybe sour became?
Oh, that's a great question.
Like an accident, or was it on purpose?
I'm going to say it was an accident, because I could go into the history of beer, the herstory of beer, because the first brewers were actually women.
Oh.
But I'm imagining back then beer that it was it's before they added the hops, so it wasn't as bitter. I'm going to imagine some of them may have been sour.
Yeah, because you think like if you're baking bread or something, and sometimes, if you tried the dough or something, it could be a little sour. So
yeah, there's been some happy mistakes in the barrels, especially like after aging. You're like, oh, this came out a lot different than I anticipated, and it turns out to be a killer beer.
Yeah, but in space there's no such thing as a happy mistake, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in dentistry, there could be happy mistakes, but when we're coming, like infection control and stuff like that, of course you have to, have a lot of checklists. It's pretty, you want to have things safe and clean. But then like another checklist as far as like patient charts, reviewing patient charts and going through your patients and checklist just to see even if what x-rays are needed, if they're due for a full set of x-rays or, bite wings, if they're due, for the proper type of exam, whether they do the perio exam or periodic exam. You want to check that. You want to check, checklist to see if possibly family members might need recare appointments or haven't been in for a while too. So that's a good time to add that to your checklist. Treatment, outstanding treatment. So that's a good thing to put on your checklist. Check for outstanding treatment plans and things that are unfinished. Do you have any other things that you could think of as far as patient chart reviews?
Oh, health history.
Oh, health history, yes.
Updates on health history. People may think, oh, they were here 6 months ago. No need to update it. In our practice, we see a lot of CT scans, and instances where, of course, the doctors speak, and they talk about the results, and then have the patient in the chair, making sure that we have the information as well. You don't want to go in have the patient in the chair and they're like, oh, I'm ready to take an X-ray, the X-ray, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, I just got a scan done. You're like, oh, even better.
Yeah, because you guys, all of your patients are referrals. So yeah, it's a little bit different.
Yes.
So all of your patients are referrals. So there's so many more different checklists for you guys, because you have to make sure you have that referral. You have to make sure that you communicate with the referring doctor, because that's sometimes that could get lagged. It's really frustrating when you go, pull up a patient's chart. You don't have any correspondence from the endodontist or periodontist, and so it's really important to have all that checklist too before the patient comes in, and make sure everything's in their chart.
Right. We've had referrals that simply have the patient's name on it, no indication of which tooth it is, all the way to like a complete novel of their symptoms. And that's, the more information, the better.
That is a good, I'm going to finish the checklist thing real quick, and then I want you to talk to us about referrals, because that's something that you can really help us on. That's really important. So I'm glad you brought that up. Other thing I thought about for the checklist was like insurance. Besides asking the patient if their insurance information and all that stuff is correct, address, that's kind of, updating that information, but also checking how much benefits are left with their insurance, because that way you can put that together with the treatment plan and help the patient work out a treatment.
I remember you had your insurance queen. I remember that.
Oh yeah, and then also like outstanding money, like if they have an outstanding balance too, that's a good time to check that and bring that to the attention, so that everybody's aware and on board to help that that get collected and help the patient get that taken care of. So April? So as far as referrals, I'm guilty too. We get, usually if a patient needs a referral, like to an endodontist, it's as a hygienist, the doctor will come in at the end of the exam, which is really really tough if there is treatment, because we're left with no time, if we want to stay on time, to go over the treatment plan with the patient. And then if there's a referral, usually the exam takes a little bit longer, because there's a tooth that needs to be tested, and more diagnostic tests, more notes, and then the referral slip, and usually an extra X-ray sometimes at the end of the appointment. And so as a hygienist, we do a lot of the writing the referrals. I don't know if you're aware of that. And it's usually at the end of the appointment, and we're frazzled and in a hurry and trying to get the notes down. And sometimes we didn't even hear what the doctor mumbled under his or her mask. So we're not even 100% sure ourselves of what or why. Obviously, we've worked with the same doctors a lot, and so we do get to know, what's going on. And but in some circumstances, we don't get all the information clearly ourselves, and then we're trying to write it down, and then by then the doctor's left, and then
so you're left in the
procedure,
kind of left in the dark as to what to write on the referral for these specialists.
Right.
I kind of think of it as, so you're filling out like prescription, you need as much information, of course, the name and the tooth, and what kind of symptoms they're having, and if you've done any tests on the tooth, what were the results of the tests.
Okay, this is good to know. So tests that were done, because we'll put this in our notes, like in our chart notes, but I never even thought to put that on the referral slip. Okay, so tests done and their results.
And the symptoms the patient was having, hot, cold, example, chewing. Was there a crown placed recently, or do you know when the date was? Are you about to place a crown? Or what pending treatment is there?
Okay, yeah, this is great. How about how long they've had the symptoms? Is that
any information you give it is valuable.
So really, any information that we're going to put in our chart note, you would also want to have, and that totally
pretty much transcribe them to the referral slip.
Yeah.
Like I said, we've had referral slips that simply just say treat number 3. Like, okay, but we need a little background information on it. And, of course, we're going to get that out of the patient anyway, but it's nice to have that referral slip before the patient comes in, because we get them emailed to us usually beforehand. It gives us a sense of what's going on. Like reading your chart notes from like 6 months ago, a year ago.
Yeah, that's great. That's great if you guys have a heads up. Must be nice.
Yeah. So speaking of systems and protocols, thinking about adding the new PPE that is required to be compliant. I was walking with a friend of mine today, and she's a hygienist, and she was supposed to start this week, on Friday. And the dentist isn't quite up to snuff yet. And so she went into the office to take a peek at what he's been doing, and he hasn't done it yet. So she told him, as soon as you get the required PPE and air filtration, I'll come back to work. So, she's had these patients for 17 years, and she wants to make sure they're safe. So that's been added to their checklist systems and protocols.
How did the doctor take it? Was he?
I think he may have been reluctant at first, but he understands that the patients need to be safe as well. A lot of the patients are 60 plus.
Yeah, a lot of the patients I see some are 80. I mean, and they're pretty healthy, but then again, they're not, and they don't. Mm-hmm. And they're ready to get out. They come in to socialize, so they're not going to let anything keep them away.
Right.
But yeah, you have to worry about them too.
And I said to her, dentistry's always been, and you're going to take this the wrong way, dentistry's always been messy and gross anyway. And this has been our time to improve upon getting all those aerosols out of the air. But you're starting back on Tuesday, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to go in on Tuesday.
So you'll probably have a new set of systems and protocols.
Yeah. So I've been talking to the doctors I work with, and everybody's been great. And they're really nice about asking what we need and how we feel and those kind of things. So it's been great, and I'm very, very fortunate. So I am definitely nervous. I should worry more about getting sick, I guess. Honestly, I'm more worried about having too much stuff on, not being able to breathe and not being able to move and see and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that may sound selfish, but I don't know. I don't even know what to expect, to be honest. And then after not working for an operatory for a couple months, I guess. Once I get in there, it's just going to be like riding a bike. I'm sure it'll be fine, and mm-hmm. and I feel safe. And the office I'm working out on Tuesdays, it's like a boutique office, and so there's only me and a doctor and an assistant, and they have one good long surgery patient all day long. So I'm not I'm not really nervous about mm-hmm. that. But then maybe I should be. So I don't know. We'll see. And then I think in the long run, it's going to be even better because just having all the new systems in place. In the long run, it's going to help everybody, and everybody's going to feel better and be healthier, and not necessarily the patients, because most of them are only there for an hour, but us, we're there sometimes mm-hmm. 11 hours a day, and that's a lot of time. The thing I'm most excited about is people will take sick patients more serious. I might have mentioned this before, but when I worked up front and scheduled patients, and they would call and say, well, I have a runny nose or I have a cold, and is it okay if I come in? Mm-hmm. And I would say, oh yeah, Stephanie's got a mask on, she's fine. Because I was thinking about keeping the schedule full, production, collection, bottom line business. Mm-hmm. Honestly, that was like, I'm like, well, she's going to be fine. She has a mask on, her gloves. And then I could hear her back there stomping her feet and stuff. I just thought she was a prima donna. I'm like, she's a prima donna hygienist. She's stomping her feet, and she should be excited. I filled her schedule and with a sick person, and she's got gloves on. But as a hygienist, now I see that the same thing, the front office, they're thinking the same thing, that we're safe because we have gloves and a mask on. But really the patient will come back and we don't have that stuff on in the beginning. We're talking to them eye level, face to face, without all that stuff on. And then mm-hmm. then they decide to tell us that they're sick and they just came back from some exotic vacation and they've never been so sick in their life. And yeah, this was like right before COVID. So, and then it's almost like they're bragging about how sick they are. And I get pissed. I'm like, why?
Oh, yeah.
I think it's okay to come in here and brag about your fever or being sick. Do you think that that's okay?
Did you read that someone had just treated a patient, a hygienist? The doctor walks in, the patient said, oh, yeah, I just got tested for COVID. And, well, they went through the screening questions and didn't mention it. Like, oh.
Just wanted to get their teeth clean.
Yeah, after the appointment, she finally reveals that she had COVID.
Are you serious?
Yes.
And I don't know. And I know it's just like, I don't know what to even think. that there has to be some consequences for
Mhm.
knowing. That's crazy.
Back to the health history.
Back to the health. Okay. So back to the health history though. But like you said, she didn't tell anybody that she had it. But most people, they'll leave a bunch of stuff out because they don't want to answer it. Anyway, there's a lot of questions, and there's a reason for them. It's a checklist. Okay. Hey, April.
Yeah.
Hey, April. Why don't you tell everybody about the class that we're having?
So this class that Cindy and I are holding is an online class for free. Free is a great price, and it's especially for students because this is graduation time of the year from hygiene school, assisting school, and it's talking about the skill sets needed and coaching. We're bridging that gap for you, and there's certain skill sets that will be touching upon that kind of that gray area that they don't touch upon too much in school. And the reason we're doing this is because Cindy and I were talking about, boy, that seemed like that was missing during our schooling, and it's a scary time not knowing what to expect in your first practice.
Yes, April, that is so true. It's such a big black hole, like the big gap from learning clinical skills to actually working in a real live dental office.
Big scary
operatory.
world.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you don't know what to expect. And then once you get in the patient's mouth, it's kind of like temping. You can go to any office, and once you get your stuff on and get in the patient's mouth, it's all the same. It's great. It's easy riding a bike, but it's all the little things that before that you need to know that they don't necessarily teach you. Communicate with the patients, verbiage to use, what practices want to see, what they expect out of you, but you just don't know. And then
Yes,
we also
so
do work with practices too, so we know what practices are looking for, what offices are looking for, and we do know a lot of people that are hiring as well. We do. A lot of you probably know that April and I do work with OnDiem, which is a dental staffing company as well. This isn't necessarily about that, but we just know a lot about staffing and how to help people get going. And
yeah, so we're going to give you the tools to fill your toolbox before you, not just your instruments, before you start that first job. Yeah, don't be shy. Free's a good price, and
yeah, we're totally here. It's totally here to mentor you and graduation present.
yes, good gift to get.
So to sign up for the class that will be held on June 19th, please email us at rootyouon@gmail.com. It's ROOTUON@gmail, and we will get you on the list and answer any questions that you may have. And we would love to hear from you. We are here to support you and root you on. And so now it is time to launch that career.